Good morning, friends. So good to see you here this morning. It was really good to see some people showing up extra early, like Scott and Dalton and Michael, who helped get this room set up this morning. They didn't sign up, they just took the next right step. They saw that the place wasn't set up, in part because I have put out my back now in addition to my wrist. Aging. But anyhow, let's get grounded here this morning if we can, and I would like to invite you to say along with Melissa the response to the lines that I'll lead us in right now. Come as you are, aching, tired, joyful, or seeking.
Here, we are woven together in love.
Set down what you carry and let this be a place of rest.
Here, we are held in hope and mercy.
Be present to yourself, to each other, and to the divine life that flows through all things.
Here, together, we find the common thread of divine life that connects us all.
Indwelling divine, may we enter into this sacred space, remembering this morning the divine life in which we live and move and have our being, our God, who is lover, beloved, and love overflowing. Amen.
From Paul's letters to the Philippians. If anyone thinks they have reason to feel confident in their credentials, I had more. As for the law, I was a Pharisee. As for passion, I persecuted the early church. As for legal righteousness, I had no faults to speak of. But whatever I once saw as gain, I now see differently. I've let go because something deeper called to me. The surpassing worth of awakening to the presence of Christ, the indwelling truth, the pattern of love, has made everything else feel small by comparison. I've released it all, gladly, so I can live from this deeper place. Not a self-made goodness, but one that flows from trust, from union with the source. What I want now is to truly know this Christ, to participate in the power that brings new life, to enter into the vulnerability of love, even the pain of it, so that, in letting go, I might discover the mystery of the resurrection. I haven't arrived. I'm still becoming. But this one thing I do, I leave behind what no longer serves me, and I stretch towards what is unfolding. I press on towards the invitation, the upward call of God, drawing me deeper into the heart of love. to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. And you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. And you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. Oh, holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath. Oh, holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? The weight of the world in your muscles. Will you ease this pain? Will you ease the world in your muscles? Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Well, good morning, friends, and welcome to Common Thread. My name is Melissa, and I am so happy to be up here as the liturgist today to welcome you all to this special place. So welcome. If you are a newcomer or an old-timer, someone who's been here a year, or someone who used to come years ago, if you found us online or you stumbled in off the street, whoever you are, and no matter what brought you here today, you belong. And we are so happy to have you here with us this morning. If you want to know more about us, just click this QR code and we'll send you a zero pressure email with more information, including an option to connect with a live human being if that doesn't terrify you. And if you really want to know what we are about, a live human being, is the best way to go. You'll get a firsthand account of what this place is really like, where we shine, where we fall short, but mostly how transformation is the aim wherever each of us is on this spiritual journey, knowing that making the journey together will always take us farther than we could ever go on our own. So, welcome. And an even more heartfelt welcome if you are here today and you are having a hard time. In our culture, it's our inclination to isolate when the going gets tough. But we do know that standing with each other on our rough days is an act of solidarity, and it is an act of love, and I would even dare say it is an act of resistance, and part of what makes our personal and collective transformation possible. So each Sunday down the hall, we have a listener who is trained to hold space for us when we are having a challenging time. If you need an ear to listen or a shoulder to cry on, or just a different perspective through which to look at your struggles, did we get one on the fly? Okay. I don't think we actually have a dedicated listener yet, so I'm not sure if someone will be in the library, but there are plenty of people in this room. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Well, there's a hand. Sue will be our listener today, so after the lesson, Sue will be down the hall in the library, and she will hang out there for anybody that needs this kind of support this morning. At any time, you can always go to this URL to request support through our community care team. Morgan leads that effort, and if you let her know what's up, she'll get you pointed in the right direction. And so now let's say together, as we do each week, if you are here, you belong.
If you are here, you belong.
And we are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
And we are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
And so now, as fellow carriers of this divine light and this divine breath, I invite you all to stand and greet one another. Do I? All right. So as you are making your way back to your seats, just a couple more things from me. You'll see the calendar, ways to connect in the community coming up. So today, as always, we have What Are You Thinking? It'll happen here in the room for us, and then it's also happening on Zoom for our online folks. Today, Angela is leading the meditation support group, which is meeting downstairs right after the service in the meditation room. Also, later on today, this afternoon, the Brew Crew is at Bark Bar the Bark Bar this afternoon, 4 to 6, I believe. And then next Saturday, the Artsy group is going to meet up again, meeting down in the teen room. I believe it is a collage-themed Artsy group with Dawn, so that should be super fun. And then next Sunday, it is not Easter, but we are going to do our Easter egg hunt after the service. So that should be a lot of fun. You can bring your own picnic and just have fun eating with friends out on the lawn, watching the craziness of kids hunt for eggs. It should be a good time. And then on April 19th, we're having an Earth Day cleanup at Anderson Point Trail. And we also now have a featured announcement, if you will direct your attention to the screen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Appleby,
And I'm Pearlie Davis.
and we wanted to let you know about a special workshop opportunity coming up on Thursday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. because we know that many of us are carrying a lot right now.
That's right. With the current political climate, the ever-changing national landscape, and the onslaught of news coverage, it's easy to feel uncertain and even overwhelmed. Cindy and I have been feeling that too.
So Pearlie and I decided to create this workshop, Finding Our Center in Shifting Sands. It's a virtual workshop designed specifically for our community here at Common Thread.
It's a chance for us to come together to share our feelings and our concerns and our fears in a very safe and supportive space.
We're going to use journaling and poetry and open sharing as a way to help us process the emotions we're carrying so we don't get stuck in grief, anger, or frustration.
And please know that this isn't intended to be a gripe session, nor even a problem-solving session, but it's a place for us to hold space with and for each other as we acknowledge the tension that's present.
So if you're looking for a safe space to be real and to find strength in community, come join us.
Space is limited. We do want to keep the group small so that everyone has a chance to share and be heard.
So if this is something that resonates with you, please use the church app to register for this special online event. We'd really love to see you there.
And remember, we are all in this together.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. So if you missed anything in those announcements or want to dive deeper on anything that was mentioned, we have 3 ways that you can find out what's going on the church app or on the church website or every Thursday in the weekly email that comes out. So look to those places.
Good morning again, everyone. And welcome to the 5th week of Lent. Now, if you've been with us, you've noticed that each week during Lent, we've been marking this season in small and quiet ways. On the first Sunday, we lit a single purple candle, a sign of entering into a slower rhythm and a different kind of space. The week after, we claimed this table up here as a bare altar, and the next week, we placed linens on it. Last week, we placed the candle on the altar, the place where our Lenten ritual will begin unfolding today. And now this morning there's a basket on the altar containing elements for that ritual, which I'll tell you more about in a little bit. And you might notice that I am wearing this purple stole, a very churchy symbol with a complicated history. Because in many churches, the stole is a sign of clergy power, a visual reminder of religious hierarchy. But the stole didn't start out that way. Long before it meant leadership, it meant servanthood. And it was worn by servants who literally carried things. So I'm wearing this today, and I'll wear it next week too, as a reminder to myself as much as to all of us that true leadership, the kind that Jesus modeled, is the kind that serves, the kind that carries things for others, as I hope to do in a way that is helpful for all of you over these next few Sundays. And it's a little subversive for me to wear it. Again, a woman, a queer pastor, someone who once thought I had no place at the table. So I wear it also to reclaim the subversive nature of love poured out. Now, all season long, we've been working with the welcome prayer as our contemplative practice, learning to notice what we're holding and gently beginning to let go. So today we'll be expanding that into a fuller practice, a somewhat reworked version of the examine prayer, a way of noticing what's stirring in us, what still binds us, and what might be softening, accompanied by a song that reclaims the use of the words Lord and mercy. Mercy, not as something dispensed by a king, but as a quality in which we are already held. And Lord, not as a king, but as a subversive servant. So I'd like you to just take a moment. If your phone is in a position where it might buzz or ring, perhaps silence it so that we can be sure that we all enter into this space in a contemplative and peaceful way. And once we've done that, let's begin this meditation together, reflecting on the places where we still feel bound and on the moments we remember that we are already free. body continue to settle and let your breath slow down. Let yourself be here, present as you are. See if you can call to mind what has been heavy on your heart. What thought, fear, memory, or tension has been following you around? Is there a pattern that keeps showing up? Is there a familiar story you told yourself about your worth, your safety, your sense of control? See if you can name it. Don't fix it. Just name it and welcome it in your heart. Just gently and honestly notice what it is that is keeping you bound. And in this, can you remember, even for a moment, that you are already loved? That you do not need to earn your belonging? That transformation doesn't come by force, but by love poured out. The kind that begins in seeing, softening, and surrendering. Let that truth hold you for a moment. Is something beginning to loosen? To let go? What might be softening in you even just a little? If nothing is clear yet, that's okay. Simply be willing. And in your heart, you might say something like, "Indwelling divine, I welcome what is. I am letting go, bit by bit, of what binds me. I am preparing the way to be open to what wants to be born in me. Not in fear, not in striving, but in love poured out from the place in me that is already free, swimming in mercy as in an endless sea."
Lord, as you
the Gospel according to John this week. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" And Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." So here we are heading into the home stretch of Lent. It's been an intentional path so far as we've been pondering the patterns that drive our behaviors, the stories we keep telling ourselves, the ways of being that still hold us hostage. And if you've been walking this journey with us, you might remember where we began, out in the wilderness. That first Sunday, we explored what it means to be in a place of disorientation, where the old ways stop working and we're not quite sure what's next. From there, we moved into belonging, recognizing that belonging isn't something we can hand to each other like a gift bag at the door. It's something we each have to live into, to show up as we are, to let others do the same, and to remember that we've never been separate. Then we turned to what it means to walk the path, not just to work the circle of contemplation, learning, gathering, and serving in order to be a little calmer or smarter or less lonely or more helpful, but to keep returning to these practices from new places on the path again and again, that something might shift, not just in each of us, but among all of us. And then last week we told the story of the prodigal son, and we looked at all the ways that story still plays out, especially how the patterns in the story play out within each one of us, how we are bound by them, held hostage to them, even here, and how easy it is to recreate old dynamics. But before we move forward, I want to address the one whose life and teachings we've been circling around all through Lent, because for many of us, the story of Jesus is complicated. Some of us love Jesus. Some of us feel pretty agnostic about him. Most of us know that Jesus wasn't a Christian and that he didn't come to found a religion. And yet the version of Jesus many of us were handed is stuck in our bones, a version that can feel rigid, hierarchical, even weaponized. So we might be wary, or we may have put up a wall. We might be longing to be freed from that version of Jesus. And in that longing, we may have deconstructed and reconstructed so many times, we're not quite sure what to do with Jesus anymore, if anything. So before we go any further, I just want to say, if you're still sorting that out, you're not alone, especially here. You're in very good company at Common Thread. Trying to sort all that out is the very reason why so many of us landed here in the first place. And still, there's something in folks all around the world, in all kinds of cultures, that stays curious. Something that keeps pulling us toward him, or that might keep pushing us away. I, for one, remain curious. And I talk about him, in part because I count myself among countless others who are struck by the way Jesus teaches and by the way he sees. He rarely gives us straightforward answers, much to the contrary of what the churches we may have come from told us. He doesn't hand out easy moral lessons. He doesn't deal in dogma or declarations. Instead, he tells stories. Weird stories. Stories that don't resolve neatly. Stories that work on you from the inside. Stories that, in many ways, function like koans. Those short, enigmatic sayings from the Zen tradition meant to disrupt the mind and open the heart. Sayings like, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" Or, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." The point of a koan isn't to be explained. It's to be lived with, felt, and entered into over time. Like koans, Jesus' parables don't hand us answers so much as they mess with our categories. Stories that act more like riddles than rules, designed to shake something loose inside, to open us up in ways logic can't quite reach. In fact, it kind of makes you wonder if Jesus himself didn't learn some of what he taught at the feet of Eastern spiritual masters. Because if you let these parables sit with you, if you don't rush to decode them, they can change you. They are designed not to inform us, but to help form us. For instance, we dug into the prodigal son from a different angle last week. Just one angle among thousands, working with the notion that it's a story of divine love that is always there. Not keeping score, not demanding perfection, just waiting for us to come home. Or, more accurately, waiting for us to wake up and realize that we've never really left. And that's a lovely place to land, if that's where we land. But it all kind of begs another question, at least in my mind. What happens after the party? What about the next morning? What does love look like after we've stopped trying to prove ourselves? After we've stopped needing to earn our place? What does love look like when it is unbound? Imagine the younger son waking up, maybe a little groggy, maybe still not sure if last night was real. Does he look around and think, okay, time to earn it, time to pay it all back, time to prove I'm worth that celebration? Does he start doing chores at breakneck speed, volunteering for extra work, making speeches about how grateful he is? Or does he let himself rest? Does he walk into the kitchen and accept a plate of breakfast without apology? Does he allow himself to be held in love without the old inner voices trying to sabotage it? And what about the father? What does his love look like the next day? I mean, it's one thing to throw a feast in a moment of joy. It's quite another to keep showing up for someone who is still figuring it out, who might still be ashamed, who might still be impulsive or unsure or hurting. What does love look like after the bright and shining moment of reconciliation? What does love look like when it stays? And then the older brother, what does his next morning look like? Does he sulk in the corner, still angry that his brother got off too easy? Does he nurse his resentment, keep his distance, replay the injustice in his mind over and over and over again? Or does something soften in him? Does he wake up and remember that his father came outside to him too? Does he come to realize that maybe he's been standing outside the house, outside love, not because he had to, but because he didn't know that he was already welcome? All three of them, the younger son, the older brother, The father, presumably, they're all in the house the next morning, still figuring out how to be with each other, still learning how to live from love. And I suspect that's often where we find ourselves too. The question about what happens the next day in the parable might be more of a question about what happens in us when we begin to truly believe it's safe to be loved like that. What happens when we start to trust that we don't have to earn that love? That we don't have to hold our worth in comparison to anyone else? When we live not from fear or performance, but from the deep knowing that we are already loved. Today's gospel story might provide a glimpse of not only what that love looks like, but of how such love comes to be. Because parables are powerful, but Jesus knew that words alone can't hold the mystery. He knew that even his most beautiful stories, even the ones that crack us open, would only take us so far. I am convinced that Jesus didn't stay with us in our collective consciousness because of the Gospels alone, or because the Holy Roman Catholic Empire drilled its version of him into generations of us. He remains, he endures, because it was his very being that led to radical transformation in people. His essence reached people on a level that no language could ever fully explain. It was how he was in the world that moved the people he encountered. And I find all that even more compelling than the stories he told or the teachings he gave. I continue to talk about him because it's obvious that something in his presence woke people up, broke open their defenses, stirred a remembrance of something holy that had always been there. And he promises us that that can be true for all of us too. And some people in his time, before a church formed around his name, before the theology tried to contain him, some people saw it. Many people saw it. They recognized the radiance. They responded not with belief systems, but with love. And maybe no one saw that more clearly or responded more courageously than Mary. Now remember, today's gospel reading isn't a parable Jesus told. It's a story about him. It's 6 days before Passover. Jesus is at the home of Lazarus, the friend who he raised from the dead. Martha is serving dinner, as Martha is wont to do. Lazarus is reclining at the table, as men of the times were wont to do. And then Mary enters. She carries a jar of costly perfume, pure nard, the text says, and pours it over Jesus' feet. Now, the text names her as Mary of Bethany, Martha and Lazarus' sister. But as you might know, the lines between the Marys in Scripture aren't always so clear. For centuries, theologians, mystics, and scholars have debated whether Mary of Bethany, Mary Magdalene, and the unnamed sinful woman who anoints Jesus in Luke's gospel might actually be the same person. Biblical scholarship often separates them, treating each Mary as a distinct figure, but in the mystical stream, especially in the non-canonical gospels that never made it into the Bible, a unity of Mary persists. You get the sense that all these Marys are one woman. A woman whose story was fragmented over time, perhaps intentionally, by a church unready to hold the full weight of a woman's authority and wisdom. In our lesson series last August, we explored the idea that Mary Magdalene wasn't just a devoted follower or close friend, but someone far more dangerous to the powers that be, the one who truly understood him. The one who didn't flinch when she encountered his essence after his death. The one who received teachings the others weren't ready for. The one with eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart that could hold the whole thing. It was Mary, I'd argue, not Simon Peter, who was Jesus' heir apparent. Maybe not in the institutional lineage, a lineage I might remind you that Jesus never established in the first place, but clearly in the mystical one. So when I read this story, that's the Mary who comes to my mind, not a fragmented footnote, but a whole and radiant being. A woman who saw Jesus not just as teacher or healer, but as the clearest glimpse of the eternal she had ever encountered. Walking and breathing and breaking open the world before her. She also saw that his time was short. She saw the grief gathering on the horizon, heartbreakingly beautiful, his life both fleeting and forever. She saw what the others, even the disciples closest to him, still couldn't grasp. And she saw herself too. Not through shame, not through reputation or roles or rules, but through love. In fact, you might recall the Gospels make passing reference to Jesus having cast out 7 demons from Mary. I strongly suspect that whatever that refers to, it's not about a literal exorcism. I do suspect it's a way of naming the deep inner work she had to do. The inner compulsions, the fears, the distortions, the same kind of inner wrestling Jesus faced in the wilderness. Because if Jesus had to confront all the voices that kept him bound and name them and let them go, how could it also not be true for Mary if she was the one who could truly see the divine in him and the divine in herself? So when this moment came, Mary was ready. She was ripe. She knew she was already loved, already home. And when you see from that place, when your inner sight is clear, you don't ask for permission. You don't weigh the cost before you give. You just pour it out. So Mary takes the jar, and she breaks it, and she pours the oil, not over Jesus' head, as was customary for kings and priests, but over his feet, which was not a common act. It was radical, intimate, scandalous. To anoint someone, for a woman to anoint someone, especially in public, was to step outside every expectation, to subvert every cultural norm. Mary becomes, in that moment, the priest, infinitely scandalous, blessing him, preparing him, doing what no one else dared or even knew to do. Not with a title, not with institutional authority, but with the kind of authority that comes from that deep, grounded, soul-sure place of divine love, the kind of love that changes the atmosphere, shifts something in the room, and has the potential to wake something up in us. But not everyone is ready for that kind of awakening. Not everyone is ripe. Why wasn't this perfume sold? Judas asks. Why wasn't the money given to the poor? And I want to pause here for a moment because we may well find ourselves agreeing with him. Which makes sense. What he says sounds right. It's a question of equity, social justice, a question of stewardship, a plea for practical, tangible action in the face of real suffering. And we might hear this question, especially in a time like this, and think, exactly. Why are we pouring perfume on the floor when the world is on fire? When Gaza is burning, when millions of people in Somalia are suffering, when we don't know if democracy will hold? In fact, even Jesus' words here can sound jarring. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me. These words might sound dismissive, callous, self-centered even, especially when the critique, Judas's or ours, is rooted in real concern. When it's coming from a place that says, but people are suffering, shouldn't we be doing something? It's a really good question. It's a holy question. And it's one we do need to wrestle with, especially if we are people trying not to look away from the world's pain. But what I hear in Jesus' words is a bigger perspective. He isn't dismissing the poor. I mean, if he were, it would be utterly inconsonant with everything else he says. I think what he's saying is the work of justice will always be there. It still matters. It still calls to you. It will keep calling to you. But this moment of uncalculated, embodied love, of holy presence, of seeing perhaps even beyond the veil, this is a prophetic moment. Jesus is honoring the sacredness of this act and the subversiveness of this act, of being anointed, of being seen, truly seen, of divine light, seeing divine light, and freely pouring out divine love. And I suspect that Judas doesn't get it, precisely because his is a transactional world, one where even love has to earn its keep, where beauty is wasteful unless it serves a cause, where presence only matters if it performs. And maybe that's what was holding Judas hostage. Maybe he couldn't bear the ache of a world he couldn't fix. Maybe the grief and the injustice felt too vast, too unmanageable. And so he clung to what he could measure, what he could control, what he could count. And maybe that's why Mary's act undid him, because she wasn't trying to solve anything. Mary's act isn't efficient. It doesn't fix the world. It doesn't solve anything. And yet, it changes everything. Real love doesn't begin with strategy. It begins with sight. And that's what Judas lacked. He wanted justice without transformation, action without awareness, a better world without the deeper seeing it takes to build one that will endure. But Mary saw, and she drew from that deep well of inexhaustible divine love. This kind of love, grounded, embodied, free, is the essential foundation of justice. Mary isn't better than Judas. She's just freer. And that's the difference. Because when you know you're loved, when you know you're not separate from the source, you don't have to measure your offerings. You just pour them out. You can't help but pour them out. In fact, you hardly have to do anything at all. Love just flows out from you. So here's a question I want to invite us to sit with this morning. Where are we like Judas in this story? Where are we trying to do what's right, what's responsible, just, even noble, but perhaps not drawing from the deepest well? Where are we still clinging to action because it feels safer than stillness? Where are we afraid that it all depends on us, that if we don't do something, all will be lost? Ultimately, what is holding us hostage, even as we long to live and to love with the kind of freedom we see in Mary? Because for many of us, what keeps us from pouring love out like Mary did isn't a lack of desire. It's that something is still binding us. A belief, a fear, a wound, a pattern. Something we've internalized so deeply we may not even realize it's there. And that's okay. Because the first step toward becoming unbound is not letting go, it's seeing. It's beginning to notice. What's keeping me from receiving love freely? What's keeping me from pouring it out? What am I still clinging to, or what's still clinging to me? What's the story that tells me I have to earn it? What's the pattern that keeps me performing, protecting, defending, numbing? Because, friends, before we can do the real work of justice, before we can pour enduring love out into a world that is crying out for justice, for freedom, for that kind of love, we have to become unbound. And before we can become unbound, we have to become aware. So, today we're going to take one small step. In a moment, you'll receive a small piece of paper if you want it. Folks on the live stream, I invite you to find a piece of paper and join us in this. Because you'll be invited to write something down, a word or phrase that names what's been keeping you bound. It doesn't have to be poetic. It doesn't have to be specific. No one is going to see it but you, and you might not even figure it out this morning, and that's okay. But whatever you write, whether it's this morning or later this week, it just has to be true. Perhaps along the lines of what you've been working with the past 4 weeks during our letting go meditations. You're not laying it down yet, not today. Today is just about seeing it, sitting with it, letting it speak to you gently, quietly, and without shame. And I invite you to keep this paper this week somewhere you'll see it. Let it be your mirror. Let it stir something in you. Not to rush or fix, but to stay with it, with honesty, with love. And when we stay with it, with humility and honesty, we begin to see. We begin to soften. And when we begin to soften, we begin to become unbound. And when we are unbound, we are able to pour out love. Radical, deep, inexhaustible, divine love from the deepest place in us, from the place where love lives, from the place Mary knew, from the place Jesus was, from a place where we are free. You can help me if you like. I'll do this. You take the basket.
Prepare ye the way of the Lord. 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 Prepare ye the way of the Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord.
So this is special paper. Don't lose it. If you are afraid you might, raise your hand and I'll be happy to hold it for you this week in confidence in a sealed envelope. You're all going to bring it back next week. So that's what we want you to do, is bring it back next week. And again, folks on the live stream, if you want to participate in the special paper part of the program, just email me and I'll give you some specific instructions so that you can participate too. You can find me easily on the website if you're new. And next week, if you are ready to lay it down, bring your paper back here. And we will begin our Holy Week ritual of laying down, letting go, and becoming new. Friends on the live stream, so glad that you are here joining us this morning. We'd like to invite you to do something online that we're about to do here in the room called What Are You Thinking, Sensing, and Feeling? And so if you look in the comments below the YouTube video, you will see a link for that. Feel free to click. You'll join a Zoom conversation that will be happening with some of the best people I know. Our very committed, loving, remote community would be so happy to welcome you in and join in the conversation. They'll talk about the lesson this morning or what's going on in their lives. anything that comes to mind. So feel free to join in. They will welcome you with open virtual arms. And what you'll need to get in is a code, and the code is 1417. And if you are watching at a time that isn't Sunday morning, or you're not quite ready to join in on a conversation yet, that's fine. There's another link in the comments where you can sign up for an email that is remote specific to tell you a little more about our community. So if you would like to sign up for that, you can do that Sunday morning, anytime during the week. And with that, friends in the room, can we put one hand on our hearts? Remembering that the divine indwells us, and in the deepest place of us is love that cannot be contained. We have work to do to clear that space, but that's a revolution in our world, the more of us who can get there. And so let's remember that this week, because what is in us is meant to be shared with the world, with the people with whom we live and work and go to school, everyone we encounter. And so with that, let's extend our other hand to our city and to our world, committing as we do each week to take what is in us and share it with everyone we encounter, taking very, very seriously our commitment to be healers and repairers of this world. Amen. Friends on the live stream, God bless you. You are dismissed, and I encourage folks in the room to just take a few moments to get in touch with what you are sensing and feeling before we talk about what we are thinking.